Today on the show, we're gonna review the best and worst movies of the summer featuring my grandma. My grandma saw like every movie this summer, and that's why she's awesome. How many movies did your grandma see? Probably like none. And I'm gonna give my theory about what's gonna happen in the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers 2 movies. It's party time. Summer movie season is finally over. It was a big summer. There were like so many movies. There was like a ton of movies this summer. It was crazy. It was like a movie bonanza. And some of them were huge hits. Some of them were utter failures. But I'd say overall it was a lot of fun. Prometheus. I don't even know if I'm really ready to open that can of worms back up, but I guess I don't have a choice because I just bought the Blu-ray. It's got a sticker on the front. It says questions will be answered. There's an S at the end of questions, so that leads me to assume that at least 2 of my questions will be answered. So that's my expectations for this. I'm gonna do it all. I'm gonna listen to all the commentaries. I'm gonna see all the deleted scenes and the bonus footage. I'm gonna do it all, and then I'm gonna report back to you. Has any other movie ever been so frustratingly good and bad at the same time? I give props to Ridley Scott for attempting something like this, but then I take props away for all the fuckery that occurs in the film, but then I give props back for trying to create something of a grand mystery that challenges the origins of life, but then I take props away because it's so frustrating on my little brain balls. How can a movie on this scale with so much ambition mess up on so many dumb little details? I'm gonna go see the sequel in 2014 or 2015 because they keep promising me that if I see the sequel, I'm gonna get all these answers and it's gonna make Prometheus make sense. But I just kind of feel like it's gonna be like one of those situations where you go back with your shitty ex who used to beat you and like you just can't help yourself and like you know you're gonna get popped again, but like you can't help it, you just do it, you go back. Cabin in the Woods is not a horror movie. It is an homage to horror movies. It is a love letter, a comedic love letter to the genre that is horror movies. So if you went into this movie with the expectations that you're going to see a horror movie, then you may or may not have gotten kind of bummed out by it. But you shouldn't think like that because that's not what it is. And if you quit thinking like that, you will totally enjoy this film way more. Cabin in the Woods has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's like unheard of in the horror movie genre. Not to mention this movie was co-written and produced by Joss Whedon of the Avengers fame. That guy knows what he's doing. You should see his stuff. As a horror connoisseur, I really enjoyed Cabin in the Woods. I had a lot of fun with it. I loved picking out all the little things, like you saw the little Evil Dead thing, and then you saw the little thing that was like from Hellraiser that looked like the puzzle box. References to Japanese horror. I mean, it was just so much fun. I really enjoyed it. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Joss Whedon constantly flips your expectations in the film. The premise for the film is that you as a viewer have set expectations for a horror genre movie film, specifically one that will be titled Cabin in the Woods. We've all seen this scenario play out multiple times, and he uses that as an advantage. Well, he's kind of manipulating you because he knows what you think is going to happen, so because he knows what you think is going to happen, he like flips it around and like turns it into something else and totally surprises you, which is a lot of fun. A lot of people didn't like this film because they saw the trailer, and from the trailer, because they didn't want to spoil the premise of the movie for anyone, it made it look just like a regular horror film. So, as I said earlier, people went into this film with expectations that they're just going to see a Cabin in the Woods type movie, and that is not what they got. And expectations are the killer. You can't watch trailers, okay? Just don't do it, because it totally ruins your expectations. Like, there's people who don't like the movie Drive because the trailer made it look like Fast and Furious, but it wasn't anything like that. That happened with Lady in the Water, too. The trailer made it look like a horror movie in one, like a supernatural thriller thing in another, and like a romance movie. It was terrible. Like, none of the trailers did any justice to this film. Same for Cabin in the Woods. I didn't even want to go see Cabin in the Woods because I saw the trailer and I thought the trailer looked stupid. I thought it looked like another stupid horror movie. But then everybody was just telling me how good it was and like it was getting these rave reviews, so I was like, well, I guess I should give it a chance. And I'm really glad that I did. Don't watch trailers. They totally ruin you for movies. This film wants you to have lower expectations so that it can take you by surprise. It's like a rope-a-dope of a film. This movie did not make a lot of money. A lot of people didn't go see it. You probably didn't go see it. You should go see it. But don't go into it thinking that it's going to be a scary horror film, because it is not that in any way, shape, or form. And people who haven't seen a lot of horror movies, people who aren't familiar with all the different tropes, maybe they're not going to appreciate it as much as people who have seen a lot of horror movies. I mean, it's just like you just have to have a love for horror movies in the first place to really really like it, to really love it. I mean, it's, the one thing I heard about it was that it was a love letter to horror films. That's what got me into the theater. Hearing the term, it is a love letter to horror films. And I love horror films, and I want to get in on that love letter, and I'm glad that I did. It's a movie watcher's movie. Total Recall is a remake of the 1990 film with Arnold Schwarzenegger that we all know and love. That movie even won an Academy Award for Best Special Effects, okay, that year. That's how great this movie is. Now, this time around, Total Recall 2012 stars a parking cone and a cardboard box. This movie has like so much action, but there's just very little character, and it leaves you with this just bland taste in your mouth. What did you think of Total Recall, Grandma?
Number one, I know you can't go through the core of the earth. I mean, that just was too ridiculous.
Now the backgrounds, the set designs, the tech was awesome in this film. This film looked beautiful. So beautiful, in fact, that I wanted like cardboard box and parking cone to like get out of the way so I could see like the cool sex bot over there. Like I really wanted to see that. It looked a lot like Blade Runner. It was ripping it off a little bit, but I didn't even mind it because I just love being in Blade Runner world, and I don't even care if someone's ripping it off. Like I just want to see that shit because it's so awesome, okay? I want to live in Blade Runner world. Hopefully it happens. I love seeing the cube-based floating blocks of city. That was awesome. I love seeing the mag car like drop down and then like smash the car below it. That was great. And I'm just so sad that all these wonderful things are wasted on such a forgettable movie. Oh, that movie. Like they just had no character. Like what was Kate Beckinsale's problem? Like she was like a Terminator. She just like kept coming at him and just like wouldn't stop. I had no reason, like, why did she hate him so much? I have no idea. Even Bryan Cranston, like, couldn't save this film. Like, they didn't even give him anything fun to do, and he's amazing.
Open your mind.
Overall, this film just didn't work for me. I have to have characters that I care about and that I can relate to on some level, and that just wasn't there in this film. It was absent, even though it was beautiful and they tried. I mean, the designers really did a great job with it, but it just didn't work. In this case, the first time was the charm. Didn't need a second time. Just like RoboCop.
Open your mind.
The Hunger Games. It was a good film. It's E for everyone. It really doesn't need my help to promote it because people were like lined up outside at midnight at Best Buy to like go buy it on DVD. So there's really not much I really need to say about it. It's good. It's good for what it is. I enjoyed it. I do prefer Battle Royale and Running Man a little bit more, but it's fine. What did you think of The Hunger Games, Grandma?
I think it had a great deal of truth in it. It's a divided society, and that's what we're living today. And it's very truthful. And, you know, there's an elite, and then there's the rest, and that's where we're headed. I am amazed at people that can't fake truth.
The Avengers. We all know it's really good. I don't really need to talk about it. It's raised the bar for superhero movies. It's comic book movies 2.0. This is what you get when you put somebody in charge of something that they actually care about and they're not just trying to make $1. This is what happens. And it makes tons of dollars, and that's great. Overall, Avengers was a movie that everybody enjoyed, including my grandma. What was your favorite part, Grandma?
I loved when Hulk slung the... I know, I like he got his just dessert.
I love this movie because it was brave enough to go there. It wasn't self-conscious, it wasn't apologetic, it was a comic book movie. It was colorful, it was fun, you had heroes running around, punching stuff. It's my belief that this is the dawn of a new era of comic book movies. Good comic book movies that are gonna knock your socks off. And I'm excited. Before the Avengers, I feel like a lot of the movies were like superhero movies 1.0. And I think that this new wave, the superhero movie 2.0, is just so much more exciting. And superhero movies 1.0, which lasted about 10 years, okay? We had all these origin stories and all this sort of stuff, and people were starting to be like, oh, I think superhero movies are played out. Like, I'm done with superhero movies. But they never got played right. That's the thing. Like, they never reached that level before. And now they're finally there, and now we're finally seeing what you can do with a superhero movie. There's so much more rich, awesome source material for things beyond the origin story, beyond getting the powers, okay? They've gotten the powers, we get it. We all know who these characters are anyways. Let's just move on and see them do what they do best. DC is like, oh, you know, since Marvel came out with a huge hit Avengers movie, we gotta fucking do a fucking Justice League movie, even though they haven't taken any time to develop the groundwork, where Marvel did 3 or 4 movies just to set it up, and they're just gonna jump in and have a Justice League movie when they can't use the Batman. They're not gonna be able to use the Superman they're developing. They're not gonna be able to use that terrible Green Lantern, okay? So instead of doing what Marvel did, they should just do it like their DC Online trailer.
Cyborg, concentrate fire on Luthor while I call down some artillery.
Just make it an animated film. Just make it a 3D animated film. I would watch 2.5 hours of that, okay? You don't even need to do it with real people. You can just do it in 3D. That would be fine. In fact, that would be better because you don't have to change their costumes to make them look cool in real life. You can just put the underwear on Superman. It looks fine. It looks fine. It looks fine. It's exciting. It's cool. They've never done a 3D animated movie like that, and that would be just great. Great. Make a 3D animated film like your DC Online trailer. Just do that. Just do that. I'll watch it. Do that. I'm excited about the next wave of Marvel comic book movies. That includes Iron Man 3, like maybe an Ant-Man movie, Captain America 2, Thor 2, and Guardians of the Galaxy. Wait, Guardians of the who? Who is the Guardians of the Galaxy, you may ask? I don't know, okay? But Rocket Raccoon has had a huge resurgence this year, and I have no idea why. But this is my theory on the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, okay? This is what I hope is what happens. I want the Guardians of the Galaxy movie to be like this huge setup for Avengers 2, okay? Because the Guardians of the Galaxy, they're supposed to like guard the galaxy, okay? And Thanos apparently is on his way to Earth because he loves courting death, okay? So I hope that the Guardians of the Galaxy have to go up against Thanos in their movie and that Thanos slaughters them and they die because they're throwaway characters. You could totally kill them off and nobody would be that bummed. And then it just sets it up for like Thanos like going to Earth, and then you know that the Avengers are gonna have to deal with this guy. It sets Thanos up as like a huge threat who has already destroyed, already decimated a whole super team. And now the Avengers are gonna have to like step up to the plate to take care of him. And that would be awesome. And I feel like Joss Whedon would totally go there, and I really hope that he does. Battleship. What a tale of corporate greed and fuckery. Oh my lord, I hope you didn't go see it. What a terrible idea for a film. It's like Hasbro had this huge success with Transformers, had decent success with G.I. Joe, and then decided to just take it too far. Okay, they ended up using a board game of theirs that has no characters, no continuity, no plot. It's like making Connect 4 into a movie, okay? There's like no reason they should have made this film, okay? I understand Transformers. I get G.I. Joe. I may not love them, but they at least have characters, okay? And I'm so glad that it bombed. I am so glad it bombed because this movie was clearly made from bar graphs and pie charts by a bunch of people who just like thought from their past successes that they could just keep going because audiences were retarded, and they found out that they just pushed us too far. They pushed us too far. So far, in fact, that they had to pull G.I. Joe 2 under the pretenses that they had to like retrofit it for 3D, which was total bullshit, okay? I think that they pulled the movie because they couldn't afford 2 bombs in one summer because they knew with all the other shit that they were stacked up against, like the Avengers and Prometheus, that there was no way that G.I. Joe 2 was gonna make it. The conspiracy is that they killed off Channing Tatum halfway through the movie and had The Rock replace him as G.I. Joe, okay? But then they find out through their pie charts and bar graphs that Channing Tatum is totally hot right now, especially after Magic Mike. So they were like, oh shit, we gotta go back and we gotta put Channing Tatum back in the goddamn film. And so they just lied and were like, oh, we gotta make it 3D now all of a sudden. Like, that's such bullshit. Like, I know what you're doing. This is the level of decision making that these like white collar fucking tie guys at the top are making. And I'm glad that they had a failure. I hope it taught them a lesson. I guess we'll see, or we'll get Monopoly the movie. I mean, but at least Monopoly has a goddamn character in it, okay? I mean, like, get out of here. Like, get out of here. Get out of here, Rihanna. You keep popping up in my show and I don't know why. Liam Neeson, like, I know a check is a check, and sometimes you make art and sometimes you pay the bills, but man, what are you doing, Liam Neeson? You don't need to be in that movie. You're too good for Battleship. The Amazing Spider-Turd. I don't even want to talk about it, okay? I kind of feel bad about how much shit I talked about it. I've already said my piece on it, but I will say, as I've been meditating on The Amazing Spider-Man and I have a little bit of perspective, I like to mention the decoy bad scene in the film. What is a decoy bad scene, you may ask? A decoy bad scene is a scene that's so bad that it makes you forget about how bad the movie is overall. I'm talking about the football goalpost scene, okay? If you don't remember, there's a part where a football comes hurtling at Gwen and Peter. He catches it, he's in the stands, they're like, throw it back, Peter. He throws it, and it hits the goalpost, and it bends the goalpost. Now, A, the physics of this is just totally ridiculous. I'm pretty sure a football is made out of pigskin leather filled with air, okay? How is that gonna bend a metal goalpost? That's so stupid. But it makes me hate it so much that, like, I forget about how much I hate the rest of the film. But anyways, I don't want to talk about Spider-Man for too long, so let's just move on. The Dark Knight Rises. I've talked about it extensively, so I'm not going to talk about it a whole lot, but I will say that it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. It wasn't a fun movie. It wasn't a movie that I'm going to watch over and over again, per se, but whatever. A lot of people had a problem with it because they want to see Batman being awesome and being a hero and doing all this action stuff, and the movie starts out with Batman being all reclusive and sad and like hanging out and not being Batman anymore, and people don't want to see that. People want to see Batman being awesome, and I get that, but it's also the end of a trilogy. So, and the name of the movie is Dark Knight Rises, for Christ's sake. It's called Dark Knight Rises, and you have to tear them down to build them back up, and that's just the way it is. It's not as fun, but it makes sense storytelling-wise. Anyways, it was good. We need to have a talk about Dredd 3D. Dredd 3D is a solid, fun movie that I really enjoyed, and not a lot of people went and saw it. It bombed in the box office. I think a lot of that is due in part to the awfulness that was Total Recall. I think a lot of people got burned by the Total Recall remake. They were like, that was terrible. I don't want to see another shitty remake. And this movie is actually a good remake, and it's not really a remake per se, okay? The first Dredd film with Sylvester Stallone and Rob Schneider in 1995 did not do justice to the source material at all, okay? This movie is more faithful to the source material. It's more faithful to the character of Judge Dredd. Carl Urban does a fine job as Judge Dredd. He does an amazing job as Judge Dredd, in fact. He doesn't even say that much, and he really makes you care about him, which I think is really impressive. This movie should not have flopped, and it's your fault, okay? You guys went and saw like Resident Evil 5 over Judge Dredd. Resident Evil 5 made more money than Judge Dredd. That's insane. That's insane, okay? This movie deserves so much more respect. Not that it's groundbreaking, okay? Not that it's like the best thing you'll ever see, but it's a solid movie. It's a solid, fun movie that delivers what it promises. R-rated violence, fun, Dredd running around kicking people's asses. It was a lot of fun. I would totally watch the sequel, and it's totally better than most of the trash that you paid money for this summer. And you still have a chance, okay? It's still in the theaters. Go see it. Tell your friends. Everybody go see it. It's a lot of fun. Let's save Dredd. That's my new pet project. Let's save Dredd. I want to see a sequel. I want to see Carl Urban again. He was fantastic. If this movie makes no money, it teaches the Hollywood bigwigs that they can't take chances on smaller characters. And that's a shame. Another factor working against Dredd is the fact that Raid Redemption came out earlier this summer. I saw Raid Redemption and it was a lot of fun. It's like this crazy Taiwanese film that's got the same fucking premise, alright? And yes, Dredd has the same exact plot, but it may not be its fault. They were being filmed at the same time. It may be a total coincidence. It might not be, but maybe they didn't know. Like, maybe it was just a crazy coincidence. Honestly, I enjoyed Dredd more than Raid Redemption anyways, because Raid Redemption was really exhausting. It was good, don't get me wrong, but after like the millionth kick in the head, you're like, oh my god, I just need a moment. Like, I need a moment. And Dredd gives you moments, which I need. And yet, another thing working against this movie is actually the original movie with Sylvester Stallone, which Sylvester Stallone admits, who has been quoted as saying that this film didn't live up to what it should have been. He was saying that it was like a real missed opportunity, which is totally true. The movie is what it is. It's not that great, and people still remember that, and I think that they associated that old shitty movie with this movie, which isn't fair because it has nothing to do with that. It's a true reimagining. It's a true reimagining of Dredd. Oh my god, the visuals, Mega City 1 looked so cool, and the giant like peach trees and all these like huge apartment buildings that were just like megalithic were fucking amazing. And then they locked down. It felt like a real future. Like, it felt like a futuristic shit that wasn't like sexy and sleek. It felt like that's a reality that could happen, in my opinion. I thought it was done very well. The tone felt right. The tone felt realistic while still being futuristic. It was good. I don't know if I'd blame Rob Schneider. I mean, a lot of people have been like bringing him up lately and like just to make fun of him, and I kind of feel bad for him because it's like, he's gonna take any opportunity he can. Like, I get it. So now we're gonna do good points and bad points for Dredd 3D. I love that Dredd never took his helmet off. He never takes his helmet off in the comic, and he never took his helmet off in this film. And props to Keith Urban for being cool enough to not feel like, oh, I need to have my helmet off so everyone can see my face. Good for you, man. Stallone regretted it, and I'm glad that Urban didn't make the same mistake. I have no problems with even one scene in this movie, okay? There's not one scene that sticks out to me that I can think of that I'm like, ugh, I hated that scene. And usually I can think of at least one or two that like really bother me. SpiderMan. The action scenes are done really well. I really enjoyed the realism of them. There's no people doing silly backflips, Matrix bullshit, wire fighting crap, okay? It was just realistic, R-rated violence, and that's what I wanted, and that's what they told me I was gonna get, and that's what I got, and I fucking appreciate that. Props to Dredd for not being a stupid origin story, okay? I don't need to know where he came from. I just need to know that he likes to kick ass and take names. And that's what they gave me. I really liked the judge guns. It was really fun to see all those different functions and different types of ammo that they had. The movie had really good pacing. More props to Karl Urban, okay? He did a great job as Bones in Star Trek, and he did a great job as Dredd. This guy's amazing, and I would love to see him in more action films. More Karl Urban, please. Call me Carl. It has a 76 on Rotten Tomatoes, which I feel is a totally appropriate grade. This is a worthy C+ movie to watch. If you like C+ movies, then this is the movie for you. I would totally see Judge Dredd 2, but unfortunately that might not happen because it's totally bombing, so you should go see it so I can go see Judge Dredd 2. And finally, it wasn't trying to be too much. It was what it was. It made no bones about it. I enjoyed it. They totally just, this movie just delivered everything I wanted. I thought I was gonna like it, and then I went in the movie, and then I saw it and I liked it. And that was great. It gave me everything that I thought was going to be in the movie was totally in the movie. And maybe that's why I liked it a lot, because my expectations were completely fulfilled. Like, I didn't have high expectations, okay? So let's get to the bad points for Dredd. It was somewhat derivative of the Raid Redemption, but I kind of feel bad for it. I don't know if that was like, I don't know if they're actually ripping it off or not. Another point of contention for Dredd is that in the comic series, the whole deal is that the judges cannot be bought. They are the law, period. They could be manipulated by politicians maybe, but they can't be bought off because they are just absolute. And that's really cool. That's an amazing concept. And in this film, spoiler alert, some judges kind of get bought off, and that decreases the coolness of the judges. I get that. I agree with that point. Another weak point for Dredd was the villain, Mama. It was played by Lena Headey, otherwise known as Cersei Lannister. And like, she kind of just looked like a cut-rate Callisto with this like kitchen-ass wig, and then she like had meth mouth and like had all these like just stripped up gross clothes, and I don't know, I just didn't really buy her. They didn't really do a lot of development with her character. They kind of just, I don't know, she was definitely lacking. Side note, the slow-mo drug, and first of all, a lot of people ask me, did they do it? Did they overdo it in the 3D? I don't think they did. Yeah, they did it. Yeah, they took advantage of the slow-mo drug shit for like the 3D, but don't worry about it. It was fine, okay? It was fine. Anyways, that drug looks great. It seems like it has no like negative side effects other than if somebody's like torturing you while you're on it, okay? Which was interesting. But yeah, like I didn't really feel like, oh, why we gotta get this slow-mo drug off the streets. Like why? Like people can just like be like fucked up for a minute and then like have a good time and like see water going everywhere. That sounds fine. That sounds fine to me. In conclusion, I'd like to encourage all of you to really stop watching trailers, because trailers are so misleading, okay? They're just trying to sell you on a film, and they'll do it any way they have to, okay? And then there are films like Cabin in the Woods who are like completely unmarketable, so it turns out weird. And then there's films like Prometheus, and it has like the best trailer I've ever seen in my life. I still get goosebumps when I see the trailer to Prometheus, okay? And I keep thinking, oh my god, this is gonna be the best movie ever. And then it's like never as good as the trailer, okay? It just sets up your expectations so high, and then when it doesn't deliver, it's like you're just like crushed, you know, and you're just so angry. And it's a problem that Hollywood has. Hey guys, I've officially been doing this show for 6 months now. Can you believe it? And if you want to help me out, like this video, subscribe to my channel, like my Facebook page, follow me on Instagram and Twitter and all that awesome social media stuff, because the success of the Comic Book Girl 19 show is completely dependent upon viewers like you. You guys are awesome. Next week, get your Marvel pants on, because we're doing the Avengers vs. X-Men recap. And we're talking about it, we're gonna do it. I'm ready, and I know you're ready. I bought Prometheus on DVD today. It was crazy.